Alrighty, my Frigidaire Gallery stove is quit, and the flashing code tells me that I have to replace this unit. So, if I got to replace a unit anyway, I want to take a look at it. So it turns out that this piece up here, right, this plate here, it's about that thick, and you can peel this off with a little bit of effort. Okay, and then this is what things look like inside. And I'm looking at some of this stuff in here, right? That looks like it's all filled with like mung on a few of these switches. Now what that code actually tells me, if I dig deeper into it, is that these switches are either repeatedly being hit or they're shorted out. And when I look at that, I can kind of see that might be possible. So before I go order another one of these, because I think they're about $700 or so, I've got some isopropanol and I've got some Q-tips, and I'm going to clean this all up. I'm going to put it back together and put it in the stove, and then I'm going to come back here and report on how that worked out for me, because it looks to me like there's a really good possibility that this can be fixed. I'm just going to clean each of these circles that we see there with the isopropanol. Looks to me like maybe a little bit of moisture gets up here at times. Showing some overhead light. You see how that's coming out, right? So, maybe that's what's shorting things out. So we're going to find that out. I'm going to need something a little more than a Q-tip here. I think I might want to wash the whole thing with a... better do them one at a time with a Q-tip. That one's going to stay in the ISO. The other thing about all these electronic device controls is a gas stove, a Frigidaire natural gas stove. And back in the day, you'd only ever buy one gas stove because there would never be a reason for it to fail. I think in the case of fridges and stoves, it's one of the places where we've chosen to build failure into things that didn't really have a high failure rate. It seems to be a little bit cleaner up at the top. So this sits at the back of my stove, of course. Not, of course, the new ones aren't like that. The newest ones. This is a fairly new stove, but knowing me, I probably bought a discontinued model here and saved myself $1. That's why I'm sitting down here. It is quite hot at the back of that panel, and the oven outlet's back there. And I could see it being possible for, over time, for things to work their way in here. There's definitely no doubt I'm definitely pulling something off of here. Whether it's causing my problems or not, we'll find out. There's a lot of these buttons. Some seem to be a little worse than others. I do see things This black material does seem to be bridging some of these contacts, or potentially could be bridging these contacts. The error code isn't completely clear. But the reason I took it apart is I didn't like the idea that I got an error code that tells me one of these switches is wrong, and then the solution is to replace a $700 control unit. You know, might end up having to do that anyway, but we're going to find that out. You know, if I can fix this by doing this once a year or once every other year. How long have we had the stove? Probably 5 years. Probably not an everyday thing. I'm using ISO because I don't want to leave any moisture behind me when I go. And if this has been a moisture problem on its own already, the ISO will help dry that. Because as we all know, isopropanol eats water. So I don't like the look of that one. Seems to be something in there. Okay, so I'm going to finish cleaning this up, and then I'm going to come back and report how things went. Okay, so I'm happy to report it's been an hour since I reinstalled that, and it's still working. I do believe that's fixed. So that's the F11 code on a Frigidaire Gallery stove. Mine's the kind with the control panel in the back instead of the front, but both types of stoves seem to have the same error code. The manual tells you that you should reset the stove by turning the power off and on. And if that doesn't work, you should check the wiring harness. If that doesn't work, you should buy a new EOC, electronic oven control. I'm going to add a third piece in there that you should try taking the oven control apart and cleaning it with isopropanol very carefully and reassembling it, because my investigation seems to show that as hard as it is to believe, material is getting behind that membrane that I showed you, and apparently it's causing a problem. And so maybe I'll have to clean it once in a while. It's still way better than buying a new $700 unit.